Hey, if you've been told that memorizing scales means memorizing fingering patterns, you've been handed a shortcut that leads to a dead end. On the guitar, it's really easy to memorize fingering patterns because it's such a pattern-oriented instrument anyway. But that's why most guitar players stay stuck. But what I'm about to show you is a quick and easy process you can use to turn any scale into an unlimited number of ideas for playing solos. And once you've learned this process, fresh ideas will flow every time you pick up your guitar. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is look at how chords are built from scales. That's kind of the beginning of the process. All you do is start on a scale note and grab every other note until you get 3. Let me show you. I've got C major pulled up in Keyweaver. To build the first chord, start on C and stack every other note. C, E, G. Notice that the distance from C to E is 4 frets, which is a major third, and from E to G is 3 frets, which is a minor third. That's the formula for a major chord. A major third followed by a minor third. On every string, you have the C, then the E, then the G. Notice all the shapes you're probably already familiar with. Now, move up to D, and let's do the same thing starting there. D, skip the E, F, skip the G, A. This time, the first interval is a minor third, 1.5 steps. And the second one is a major third. That's 2 whole steps. And that makes a minor chord. And once again, all those familiar D minor shapes just start popping out at you. As you continue stacking notes through the rest of the scale, you'll see that we end up with these 7 chords. I have this little chord progression open in Jam Track Zone. It's a very simple little 1, 6, 4, 5 chord progression. This shows the notes of each of those 4 chords mapped out across the fretboard. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to memorize all this. We're going to use these fretboard maps as a framework for building our solos. Also, there's a link in the description to download this PDF. Now, all the notes are color-coded, so you can quickly pick out the root, the third, or the fifth of each chord just by glancing at colors. Each of the chords has only 3 notes, and you refer to those notes by interval name 1, 3, and 5. The 1 is the note that names the chord. Like in the C chord, the 1 is the C note, and in the A minor chord, the 1 is the A note. Now, first, we're going to make sure you can find and play all the 1 notes for each chord. So all you have to do is find the blue-colored notes in each diagram. The next step is to start looking at all of these notes that are not in the chord but are in the scale. Surround the chord notes so you know which notes you can play and stay within that key. To show you what I mean, I'm going to start with a simple little 2-note pattern where you play the note above the blue note, go down to the blue note. So I would play D to C, and then over the A minor chord, I would move my hand position so I could play the B over the A, the note above the blue note. Then I'm going to go down here and play the G over the F. Down here, the A over the G. Let's see how that plays out over the chord progression. Here we go. Now that's a very simple, very basic thing, but what's happening here is you're finding notes from the scale not in the chord and resolving them to notes that are in the chord. You're learning a process that's going to teach you the art of this kind of orchestrated dance you do between chord notes and the other notes of the scale. In case you're wondering, all the fretboard diagrams and jam track tools used in my videos are from guitarcreative.com. You can access them all for free when you create an account. There's also a paid version that unlocks more features. So if you like what you see here, please consider upgrading to support the channel. All right, back to the lesson. Now, let's try another pattern. Here, I'm going to start above the blue note, and then I'm going to go down to the green note. So if I do that here, I can go down the fretboard and do that again here for the A minor. Note above the blue note, down to the green note. Then for the F, I can play the same thing, a note above the blue note and the green note. Same thing here. Let me show you how that works. All right, now let me show you a new thing here. We're going to just kind of keep adding to this. We can start with the red note here and go up to the blue note. So we have red, blue. Now kind of in the same area, we have red, blue. Down in here, then we have red, blue. Now you may have to move around a little bit on the fretboard. That's a good thing because that's one of the things that's going to help you become more and more familiar with your fretboard. If I just played the red and blue notes, it would look something like this. But what we want to do is move around. We're going to play a few of the notes that are in the scale but not in the chord to get from the red to the blue note. We're going to start with the red note, go up one note, go to the note above the blue note, and back down. It looks like this over C. And here's A minor. Now you can go all the way down the fretboard like this for F and then G. Let's see how that plays out over the chord progression. You probably noticed that I added a few little extra notes in there, and that brings up this next point, and that is you want a certain amount or a good mix of predictability and surprises. And there's a good way to pull that off. Focus on two notes. We're going to go from the blue to the green. Now that's the root to the fifth of each one of these chords. Here's the blue and the green. If we wanted to go up here, it's here and here, or here and here. Down at the F, we have blue and green, or blue and green, like that. And the G, of course, same thing. We want to make those two notes our prominent notes in the solo for each one of the chords. When you play the C chord, you can do all kinds of things in between there and various rhythms. And when we get down to the A minor, same thing down here at the F. So we have the 1 and the 5. You've got those two notes, then we just twist and turn between those notes. Let me show you what I'm talking about along with the chord progression. So the next step here is to start looking at patterns where you combine the two. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We were focusing on the 1 and the 5. Now what we can do is we can use those and then also use some tighter intervals. Here we have the red and the green. That's a little minor third here. Remember that a major chord is a major third and a minor third combined. But we can move up and down the scale with these two notes like this. We can play around with those minor and major intervals that are on the third and second strings to form a little melody together in between those fifths, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Now that you've learned this process, you should be able to come up with lots of new ideas on your own. And the more you run this process, the faster you're going to get at really understanding your guitar. And by the way, the chart that I used in this video that shows the C and the A minor and the F and the G chords mapped out across the entire fretboard, those are screenshots from KeyWeaver, which you can get free access to at guitarcreative.com. I've also linked a PDF down in the description. If this has been helpful for you, or if you have any questions, please leave a comment. I love getting those, and I'll respond to your comment just as quickly as I can. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.